We're here with Tom Edwards. We're still at Voice Summit, another of the great speakers at Voice Summit. I think you're fresh off the stage, right?
Fresh off the stage, just stepped off.
So the first thing I'd like to ask everybody is that's come to our show is where did you come from and how was the travel for you?
Travel was interesting, and I'm based in Dallas. I always joke around my office where American flies. I was actually flying in from Chicago, hit a bunch of delays, so landed around 3 a.m. So I'm caffeined up right now. Red Bull and coffee. Let's go.
Well, I'm from previous experience of mine. I know that sometimes when you're jet lagged, you end up doing pretty well on your presentations because your brain's not focusing on the little details. You're kind of doing the big thing, really.
Yeah, it was all adrenaline.
A little looser.
Yeah.
So what was your talk on today?
My talk was about the evolution of experience and basically how we take everything from how consumers have become empowered, the role AI, natural language processing, is going to play, how smart speakers and voice assistants are going to evolve. So having people think differently beyond just a smart speaker, really thinking about the portability of Alexa voice services.
Okay.
And then thinking about kind of just the future state and how it all comes together.
Yeah, no, and so I think a lot of the people that watch us are really invested in voice and are thinking about those next steps. So can you take us on the journey that you've had? Like, how did you get started with voice? What was the first things you did on voice, and where are you kind of today?
Absolutely. So I've known Matthew Cadman, shout out to Matthew on the Alexa team there, for years, dating back to his time at Microsoft.
Okay.
And so during that time, whenever he took over kind of the Alexa Partner Program, some of the elements of that, we started to connect. I've always been interested in kind of the rise of Alexa voice services, from the very beginning, 5-6 years ago to where it is today. So part of my job is always about how do I align emerging technology with consumer behavior.
Okay. And so aligning voice technology with consumer behavior, what does that look like mechanically?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved over the past few years. To me, what really drives mass adoption is whenever you can democratize a platform.
Okay.
So when the Amazon team really opened it up to third-party developers and to agencies to be able to build skills, now even with the launch of blueprints to where individuals can basically take and add their own elements into the ecosystem, it just makes it more personal and it increases the stickiness factor.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen that. There's some really nice data on just the reviews on the devices themselves and how often the people will use Love. But a lot of when you double click on those or you dig in a little bit, you see that they're talking about a skill or a whole suite of different things or behaviors or blueprints. So it's really awesome to see people getting more and more invested in this and just seeing it everywhere, right? I remember 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago talking about Alexa and having to make the distinction between Alexa and Echo.
Right.
And now people know that. They're like, oh, this is a device, that's a device, there's the spot and the show and all this. And Alexa is overarching, it's this horizontal platform. So another thing that most people are interested in is maybe war stories or things that you planned out, we're going to do this, it didn't work out in the first pass, and then how you solved it.
That's a great question. So my team, we've built around 30 different Alexa skills, different prototypes. We've done voice-based, we've done voice plus visual for some of the other, from a very large sports organization. And lots of battle scars along the way.
Yeah.
Little things and nuances in terms of submission, things we have to consider. For me, though, is really around the voice plus visual experience.
Okay.
How we can connect a voice-based experience to control an on-screen experience. Because so much of my research has shown that millennials and Gen Zs want to have both. They want to have voice plus visual.
Yeah, and I think the industry term tends to be, or the one that gets thrown around a lot, which I don't love, but it's multi-modal.
Yep. That's right.
So having those multimodal experiences, be it a screen, a big screen, a small screen on your phone, VR, all these different things, and how they combine with voice.
That's right.
And I love that. I think there's a ton of space for innovation there. But I think sometimes people tend to put the cart before the horse. Yeah. And they're like, oh, I'm going to have this VR thing, and they never think about their voice experience. And if you don't get that core voice experience nailed and perfectly polished, you're going to really have a bad time.
You said it perfectly. The voice experience is at the core of it. When you think about multimodal, it's voice, then it's vision, then it's touch. It's the foundational piece in how people are going to interact with experiences. Because a lot of what I talk about is how we're going to shift from inputting into technology and technology adapting to us. experience.
Yeah.
And so the key piece there and what's driving the most mass adoption right now is voice.
Yeah.
So that's the key piece to consider.
And I think even at the design level, when you're talking about voice, you have to understand that the customer, the users at the center of it, they can say whatever they want at any point, and you shouldn't be trying to curtail them or to like put bumpers on what they can say, because they'll experience that as friction.
Yeah.
So designing, like taking all these learnings and putting them into your specific design for a skill. So as part of what like a lot of people ask us, especially indie devs or more hobbyists, is what is having a business or being self-employed in the voice space look like? And having you on here, I think, is a great opportunity to talk about that.
There's actually a lot of opportunity. You know, you think about it, most people automatically jump to the technology side, but there's so much to the strategy side of designing voice-based experiences. More time needs to be spent on the upfront and the strategy and kind of mapping out kind of the dialogue, conversational flow, predicting specific questions, anticipating those things, and ultimately thinking about how can I sustain engagement over time versus just, you know, having a skill enabled that never gets used again.
Yeah.
So I think there's opportunity for strategy, there's opportunity for technology, there's opportunity around education. There's still a lot of what I do is educating clients, brands, and organizations about the potential of voice and how it ties into their larger strategy.
Yeah, I think we're on an inflection point where like more people are aware of it, but it's still not 100% of the people know what you're talking about. And I think we're moving in the right direction, but I'm excited to see what keeps happening in all these different spaces, right?
Absolutely.
Not just with skill developers, like hardcore developers, but as we move forward, what's happening with brands and how are they using it? Because in a selfish way, the more people talk about voice, and I like to take this holistic view about voice, the more people are talking about voice, it could be different frameworks or different languages or different technology stacks, but the more people are thinking about voice, the more we're likely to discover like what the real design patterns are for voice, and the whole community benefits. I think another cool thing about voice, and this conference has been like the proof for me, is the community that we've built.
Yes.
So we've got your Twitter handle on here, but I'd like to encourage people that watch this to reach out to people that come here and ask questions, because I've noticed that people here like tend to joke around that it's like a big family and all that, and
you feel it.
You definitely feel it, right? Like people like to collaborate. I see people all around this conference just having like sidebar conversations, having coffee, and getting like really into it. And you walk over and they're like talking design, or they're talking games, or they're talking German versus English translations, and it's really interesting. But I also see all those conversations happening on Twitter.
Yes.
So if you can reach out to Tom, I'm sure he'll have a lot of insight to share with you. The other thing that I want to talk a little bit about is, as you expand your business, as you're working with clients, how are you sourcing candidates or people to work either full-time or consultants with you?
It comes from everywhere. It comes from my network, number one, so personal recommendations. I've used everything from small-scale stuff on Fiverr all the way out to looking at GitHub. So I find talent wherever it is, and depending on the specific need. So it's a wide variance. You know, some of my own like personal skills I've worked with on Fiverr, all the way to some of our top line, brand-based skills we work with, key marquee voice-based partners. We develop it internally. So
no, I think that's really insightful, and you're oddly the second person that mentions Fiverr. And that's something like I really want to highlight, because most people think it's like, oh, it's this big thing, and I need to be this LLC. There's work for everybody. We even had people here talking about translating or tropicalizing skills, and how it's a bigger lift than if you're doing a website or a mobile site. So being able to build out that network through Twitter, through whatever, is really important, because tomorrow if you want to translate something to Spanish, you're like, oh, I know someone that's built skills and speaks Spanish, so he's the ideal candidate for this. And the other way around, like if someone's building skills in Spanish, he's like, oh, I need to find someone that knows Japanese. The more you're ingrained into the community, the more you've had those conversations already, you're more likely to find them, right?
You are, 100%. Another thing that also helps too is original content. So even just having a point of view, even the area you're specializing in, if you're passionate about it and that comes through in your writing or short form video or whatever else it is, that also helps as well. It kind of helps differentiate. There's a lot of talent out there, and it just helps you get that little bit of extra edge.
Yeah, and I think that's key in the sense that the people that we see get attracted into the voice arena all come from really diverse backgrounds.
Yeah.
Not just designers, not just developers, not just super techie people, but all like the whole gamut. So it doesn't exclude anyone. If you have a background in linguistics or a background in writing,
right,
all of these can be applied to what voice is. So definitely don't be scared about it. Try to familiarize yourself a little bit with the terms, even if you don't feel like you're a developer by nature.
right.
But you also don't have to be this uber incredible developer to get started with voice. There's multiple tools like Storyline out there for non-technical people at all to build skills, or blueprints that you can take a blueprint and you can share it with anyone, build your own blueprint for something. So I think that's really, really cool. I wanted to check in with Cami. Are there any questions from chat, Cami? We're all good? Awesome. All right, so I think we're about at time, but I wanted to give a couple of minutes to you in case you wanted to have a good message for the voice community in general.
Just keep doing what you're doing. Like, continue to push the envelope. Continue to look for ways to evolve not only what you're doing in voice, but also looking at vision and touch. But again, it's all that foundational element tied to voice. I think that's the number one. That's what's driving scale right now. Focus on how to drive engagement with consumers or your users, and as well as understand the analytics on the back end and how to make adjustments to your existing skill. That's an incredibly key piece a lot of people overlook. It's really simple to do. But look at the utterances, look at how people are interacting with the skill. Are there opportunities, to basically take and enhance that to drive even more engagement? So that's really my core recommendation is, continue to look at the data to inform the future experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think specifically the part about being able to learn from how your consumers or your users are interacting with your skill and using that to improve it or pivot it is super important. And there's all these metrics and analytics tools that Amazon provides, so definitely check those out there in your developer dashboard. But I really wanted to thank you for your time and joining us. This has been great. Thank you.
Thank you.